In the beginning, there was only light and dark. The people lived on the earth as people do now, but during the day the sky was bright white. No clouds, no blue, just white. And at night the sky was completely black, no stars, no moon, no nothing. And because the world was the way it was, and the villages were so far from one another, you stayed in your village. Because if you left your village and were caught far away from your home when the world went black, well, you would never be seen again. And so people in each of their villages grew up knowing everyone, the same people, their whole lives. And while they said it was enough, in their hearts, they were lonely. They longed for the people whom they knew were far away, and yet they could not reach them. And that's the way it was for generations. Once upon a time, there was a girl. And this girl loved the world. She loved exploring and playing, and she wandered with her mother as her mother gathered food for them to eat during the day, and she listened to her father tell stories of the hunt. She loved the world, and she longed to know more of the world, and every night she would say to her mother, "Mother, I want to go see other places. I want to go to other villages. Please, can we go?" And every night her mother would say, "Oh, my darling, we cannot do that. It's too unsafe. We cannot be away from the village at night. The world is too dark." And again, and again, and again, every night the girl would say, "Mother, can we go?" And every night her mother would say, "We cannot." But you know how it is. If you have children, or if you've met children, or if you've even thought about children, the longing of a child will find a way to creep into your own heart. And it changes your heart. It changes your view of the world until suddenly, one day, the mother found herself thinking, "I am so lonely. Who are they over there? Surely the world is bigger than this one village and the white sky and the black sky and the little fires we sit around at night. Surely the world is bigger." That night, when her daughter said to her, "Mother, please, can we find a way to go visit other villages?" her mother said, "Let me think about it." And she did. She thought for days. She thought for days as she wandered, gathering grasses and roots and berries to eat. She thought for days as she sat with the other women, gossiping and talking. She thought for days as she wove reeds or thatched their cottage. She thought for days. And finally, one night, she was sitting with her family, gazing into the depths of the fire, and she thought, "Ah." She gathered water and mud. And together, she put them together and made a pot, and made a lid for the pot, and she let it sit by the fire until it was hard, hard as stone. And that night, as the fire began to die down, she scooped the pot into the fire until the pot was full of embers. She put the lid on it. She lay down beside her daughter and said, "I'm thinking about it," when her daughter asked if they could go and see other places. In the morning, the mother looked at the pot, and when she lifted up the lid, the embers were still burning. That night, when her daughter said, "Please, Mother, please, what have you thought of? Can we go? Can we go? Can we go?" The mother said, "Yes, in the morning we will go." And so in the morning, the mother and the daughter gathered together as much food and water as they could carry, and the mother took her pot full of embers, and they began to walk underneath the white sky. And they walked until it was almost time for the sky to turn black. Gathered together twigs and sticks, and the mother poured out the embers, and they built a fire. When the world was black, they sat around the fire as close as they could, keeping themselves warm in that little ring of light that surrounded them. Up beyond, they heard the growls and the howls of all the prowling animals. And the mother held her daughter close and thought, "Oh, I hope I have not done something wrong." Just before they fell asleep, the mother gathered up some of the embers in the pot and put the lid on it. And in the morning, they woke up. The sky was white. The mother opened the pot and began to feed the embers, and they began to walk. And as they walked, they sang and they told stories. And just before night, just before the sky went black again, they gathered twigs and sticks and they built a fire, and the sky went black. And they watched the fire, and they listened to the sounds around them, and the mother watched the sparks fly up into the sky and vanish. And she thought, I will try this. She took the lid of the pot and scooped it deep into the coals, and she threw it up into the sky as far as she could, and the embers flew up higher and higher and higher and stuck to the sky. And again, she took another lid and she threw it up high as it could, back towards their village, so she would always know where they had come from. And the embers stuck to the sky, and again, until up high in the sky was a path leading back home. And the next morning, they kept walking. And again that night, she threw embers up into the sky again, and night after night after night. And finally, mother and daughter found themselves at another village. The people in the village were astonished to see them. How did they get there? How did they survive? She told them about her pot and about the embers, and that night when the world went black, she showed them her path across the sky. And then a few days later, they kept walking, painting a bright path across the sky for all to see from village to village to village. And others started going out at night and flinging embers up into the sky, following the path left by the first mother and the first daughter to walk out into the night.